What do you think of playlist push? It seems a lot of money, but is it worth it? And that is from We Are Superbird.
So playlist push, if you aren't aware of it, is a website. It's kind of like a middleman. So whereas you used to have radio pluggers, now the big thing is to get on a playlist. And that is a question that crops up in my inbox 4 times a day, 5 times a day. How do I get my music onto playlists? Something we've tackled. But there are playlist pluggers. And these are websites where you can upload your music and you can pay a fee, and that website, the people on that website, will then push your music onto playlists to try and get it into a playlist and therefore try and get your music heard and to try and get it to blow up. Now the thing with this is there are legitimate websites and there are scam artists, and so there are a lot of these sort of aggregators, these middlemen that have put websites together that have been closed down because the Spotify algorithm is very, very clever. It's very, very smart. So the scam, I'm not saying this is playlist push, but the scam is very, very simple. You pay to get your music via a middleman, like an influencer marketer, to get it seen by these playlists. But because of the pressure of giving it to someone and paying them money to do it, if, for example, the playlist or the person who runs the playlist, if all of them hear it and don't like their music, then the artist gets a bit annoyed. And so what was happening, or why a lot of them got closed down, is because they started using bots to actually ramp up the numbers. So all of a sudden it's like you're on these playlists, and then all of a sudden you've got an extra 20,000 streams and you've got an extra 5,000 monthly listeners, and then everyone's happy. But when doing that, Spotify knows, because Spotify is not stupid, because of the streams to saves ratio, and they've got an algorithm that they feel like it is the right amount of number for how many people listen to your music and how many people save it. And if it drops too far down below, then effectively Spotify says this isn't real, and they'll pull your album or they'll pull your music off Spotify. And that was then being linked to certain aggregators, and they were getting closed down. Playlist Push is an aggregator which does a very similar thing. However, from what I can see, and I don't know the people from Playlist Push, but from what I've seen and the research that we have done, it looks pretty legit. But just like anything else in the music industry that you are paying for, you can now, in 2019, because of the way the music industry is structured, you don't have to have a manager that takes 20%. You can pay for a manager. You can pay for a plugger. You can pay for PR. You can pay to get your music shown to playlists as a plugger for playlists. You can pay for all these things. Does it guarantee success? No. All you're paying for is you're paying for the time and the experience it takes to get your music in front of those playlisters. And then if the playlisters like it, they will add it to their playlist. Do they have to? No, because you can't force that. And so what happens is a lot of artists feel like if they get their music on a playlist, their music will blow up, and they've taken for granted that their music is good enough to get on that playlist, and if it does get on that playlist, that it will blow up. And so you always have to remember, with all of these people that you are paying to do something, you are paying for their time and their experience, but they can't guarantee you anything. Is it value for money? Well, it can be. From what we've seen with Playlist Push, from a lot of the examples, they've got great Trustpilot, they've got great examples, they have a lot of people shouting their praises, and a lot of artists that have got legitimate Spotify plays, Spotify monthly listeners, and that's fantastic. But don't think that if you're going to put in, I mean, it ranges from $150 right the way through to $1,500. Don't think that you're going to make that money back when it gets onto playlists and Spotify will get an extra 30 or 40 or 50,000 streams and you'll make your money back. That's not really what this is about. This is about getting your music out there. So the thing I would say is this: with all of these people, it still depends on you. It still depends on your music. Is it worth doing? Yeah, I think it is, because I think it's worth finding out if you're good enough. If you put your music out there and it doesn't get onto playlists, maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and start looking at you as an artist, you as a musician, you as a songwriter, and how you can improve. Because there's no reason why, if you look at someone like Hosier or some of the artists that have been placed into playlists and have blown up because of it. But when you actually look at their art, their musicianship, their songwriting, their singing, you just think, yeah, I can see why. It worked fine. So the idea of going into a playlist and it all blowing up, there's no guarantees. What is a guarantee is the work that you put in to get good enough so that when you are on a playlist, you get as much traction as possible. So is it expensive? Yeah, but again, you're paying for reach. The same thing as pay-per-click. You know, when it comes to Instagram adverts, Facebook adverts, YouTube pre-roll, you're paying to get in front of people. Getting in front of people nowadays in 2019, very, very easy. But once you're in front of people, will they like you? Will they like it? That's the big question. And that's the bit I think people are missing out on. So getting in front of people easy. Are you good enough that when you're in front of people, it's going to make the difference? That's the bit you need to be working on.